One of the most dangerous mistakes a man can make is trying to be understood by people who already decided to hate him. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago, and after this video, you will too. Because in today's world, the man who cannot control his emotions becomes easy to manipulate. And toxic people know that. They know exactly how to pull you into pointless arguments, how to make you defend yourself, and how to drain your confidence without ever touching you physically. In this video, we're going to talk about why intelligent men never waste energy explaining themselves to toxic people, how manipulators secretly use your words against you, and why silence is one of the most powerful weapons a man can develop. You'll start noticing the hidden psychological games people play every day, at work, in relationships, with fake friends, even inside families. And trust me, once you truly understand this, you'll never argue the same way again. Before we begin, comment below. Silence is power. Let's begin. Most men grow up believing honesty solves everything. If I explain myself clearly, people will understand me. Sounds good, right? But real life doesn't work like that. You explain yourself politely, and toxic people twist your words. You defend your intentions, and suddenly you look guilty. You try to keep peace, and somehow you become the emotional one in the argument. Funny how that works. It's like trying to dry yourself while standing in the rain. And Machiavelli understood this part of human nature perfectly. He knew that some people do not seek truth. They seek leverage. That changes everything. Because once you realize certain people are not trying to understand you, you stop feeling the need to explain yourself to them. Look at everyday life. A toxic coworker asks fake, innocent questions in front of everyone. "Oh wow, you're leaving early again?" Notice the tone. They already know the answer. They just want to put you in a defensive position, and most men instantly fall into the trap. No, actually I finished my work early because... Stop. Now you're explaining yourself to someone who was never asking honestly in the first place. Smart men notice these little psychological games. They understand that toxic people love emotional access. The more you talk, the more information they collect. Your insecurities, your frustrations, your weak spots. And later, they use them against you. That's why powerful men become careful with words. Not cold, not arrogant, just controlled. There's a difference. See, weak men talk emotionally. Smart men talk strategically. And honestly, you can tell a lot about a man by how he handles disrespect. Some men explode immediately. Others start defending themselves like lawyers in a courtroom. Bro turns a small argument into a 45-minute TED Talk. Meanwhile, the toxic person is just sitting there enjoying the show. Because toxic people feed on reactions. Your anger entertains them. Your frustration empowers them. But silence? Silence frustrates them. That's why emotionally disciplined people are so hard to manipulate. Machiavelli once suggested that people judge more by appearances than reality. Think about that carefully. The man constantly defending himself appears uncertain. The man who stays calm appears powerful. Even if both are innocent, that's human psychology. And this is where many good men destroy their own image without realizing it. They over-explain. Every disagreement becomes a speech. Every accusation gets a full emotional response. Why? Because deep down, they desperately want to be understood. But here's the painful truth. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Some people only listen to find your emotional pressure points. You've probably seen this happen before. You open up to someone about your fears, then during an argument, they throw those same fears back in your face. That moment changes people because they realize vulnerability in the wrong hands becomes ammunition. This is why smart men learn emotional privacy, not emotional suppression. Privacy, big difference. They still feel emotions deeply. They just stop giving toxic people front row access to them. And honestly, this becomes more important as you grow older, because adult life teaches you something school never does. Some people enjoy conflict more than peace. You can be respectful, loyal, patient, and they will still create drama. Why? Because chaos gives them significance. Without conflict, they feel invisible. That's why arguing with toxic people feels endless. There's never resolution, only more emotional bait. You answer one accusation, they create another. At some point you just sit there thinking, are we solving problems or collecting them? And that's exactly the trap. Toxic people keep conversations emotional because emotional people become easier to control. Machiavelli understood that emotional control is power. The man who controls himself controls the situation. That's why smart men do something very difficult. They stop trying to win every argument. This doesn't mean becoming passive. It means recognizing when a conversation no longer has value. There's power in walking away calmly. Especially today, social media made over-explaining even worse. Now, everybody feels pressure to defend themselves publicly. Somebody misunderstands you online, and suddenly people write a 12-page apology statement like they're negotiating world peace. Relax. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Smart men understand attention is expensive. Your focus is limited. Your emotional energy is limited, so they become selective. They ask themselves, does this person actually want understanding or just drama? That question alone can save you years of stress. And here's another uncomfortable truth. Toxic people often become angry when they lose emotional access to you. Notice what happens when you stop reacting. Suddenly, they call you cold, prideful, different. You changed. Of course you changed. You stopped participating in emotional chaos. And toxic people hate losing influence. That's why silence feels so threatening to manipulators. Because silence removes their control. They can't predict you anymore. They can't pull emotions out of you anymore. They can't study your reactions anymore. You become psychologically unavailable. And that is powerful. But let's be honest here. Staying silent is not easy, especially when lies are told about you. Especially when someone attacks your character. Every part of you wants to defend yourself immediately. That's human, but smart men learn patience. Because time exposes people eventually. Character reveals itself eventually, and sometimes your silence says more than your explanation ever could. There's an old saying, never wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it. That's toxic people in arguments. They enjoy emotional mud. You don't. So stop entering battles designed to drain you. And listen carefully to this part, because it matters. Silence does not mean weakness. Weak men react emotionally to everything. Strong men choose where their energy goes. That's discipline. And discipline is rare today. Everybody reacts instantly. Instant anger, instant opinions, instant emotional explosions. But calmness? That's dangerous. A calm man forces others to reveal themselves first. And the more toxic someone is, the harder silence hits them. Because they expect emotional access, they expect panic, they expect explanations. When they don't get those things, they become uncomfortable. That's why one calm sentence can have more power than an hour of arguing. Sometimes all you need to say is, I understand your opinion. That's it. No emotional speech. No defending yourself for 30 minutes. No trying to convince people determined to misunderstand you. Just calm detachment. Machiavelli understood human nature wasn't always fair. Some people will dislike you no matter what you do. Some people will project their own insecurities onto you, and some people simply cannot stand emotionally disciplined men, because discipline reminds them of their own lack of control. That's why toxic people often test calm individuals repeatedly. They poke, push, provoke. They want to see if they can break your emotional frame. And every time you overreact, they learn how to control you better. But every time you remain calm, you quietly gain power. The kind that makes people think twice before disrespecting you again. And maybe the most important lesson here is this: you do not need everyone to understand you in order to respect yourself. Read that again mentally. A lot of suffering comes from trying to force understanding from people committed to misunderstanding you. Let them think what they want. Protect your peace, protect your focus, protect your emotional discipline, because the older and wiser you become, the more you realize peace is expensive, and not everybody deserves access to it. So the next time a toxic person tries pulling you into unnecessary drama, remember this: not every accusation deserves a defense. Not every insult deserves a reaction. And not every person deserves an explanation. Sometimes silence is not avoidance. Sometimes silence is intelligence. Sometimes silence is self-respect. And sometimes silence is power.